Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. We begin with Allah's blessed name. We praise Him and we glorify Him as He ought to be praised and glorified. And we pray for peace and for blessings on all His noble messengers, and in particular on the last of them all, the blessed Prophet Muhammad sallallahu ta'ala alayhi wasallam. And I say in particular because I am Muslim, and this is the Prophet who I follow. So in particular, the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu ta'ala alayhi wasallam. I greet you wherever you are from the studios of the Islamic Broadcasting Network here in my beautiful Caribbean island of Trinidad. Wherever you may be in the world and you are viewing this broadcast, live streaming on ibntt.net and also on YouTube on IBN Master. So wherever you are in the world and you are viewing this program, even here in Trinidad, we greet you with Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuhu. And again, once more, we remind you that our latest book, Alhamdulillah, is now finished. I'm just doing the touching up work. And the title of the book, you'll see it on the screen just now, is Dajjal, that is Dajjal, the false Messiah, Dajjal, the Quran, and Awwaluz Zaman, or the beginning of history. It's going to be a little bigger than my last book on methodology for study of the Quran, and we will be sending it for formatting. The cover design is almost complete, the back cover now to be finished, and then it will be going for printing. We still don't have all the funds we need to pay the printry, but we are expecting, inshallah, that more donations will come. So the book will soon be printed, inshallah. But you can order in advance. You can go to my online bookstore, imranhosein.com. I hope we can get it at the bottom of the screen. www.imranhosein.com, my online bookstore. And you can place an order, pre-order for the book on Dajjal. This is the first book on Dajjal. I said that we expect the price would be about £15, but this will be for those who are making their orders from the rich countries, the United States and Britain and Europe and so on. There we are, the book on the screen now. But if you're ordering the book from other countries where the standard of living is lower, then the price will be less than that. But you can make your pre-order now for the book in English and also in French, because the French translation is taking place as I speak. So that's the first announcement, reminding you about that book. I hope to be writing 4 more books on Dajjal. Let me remind you one more time, so that you can raise your hands and make dua that Allah most kind might give me life to be able to complete them. The second book on Dajjal, which is already being written, is from Jesus, the true Messiah, to Dajjal, the false Messiah, or the Antichrist, a journey in Islamic eschatology. The third book is on Dajjal and money. The fourth book will be on Dajjal and women, that is the modern feminist revolution. And the last one will be on Dajjal, the Quran, and Akhirul Zaman, or the end of history. And I know that these 5 books will not complete the subject of Dajjal, but I'm 75 years of age now, and it's becoming increasingly difficult to sit down for hours and hours and hours and hours writing and writing and writing. So Allah has blessed me with so many brilliant students now all over the world. I have a very brilliant student there close to Zurich in Switzerland. I have a brilliant student there in Bangkok. I have a lot of brilliant students in London. I have brilliant students, mashallah, all over the world. May Allah grant that they may rise in knowledge. So they will write the other books on Dajjal, inshallah, that I will not be able to write. I ask you to kindly raise your hands and make dua that Allah might give me life long enough and may allow me to write these 5 books on Dajjal. And then I told you that on the 5th of November, it's Yawmul Ahad, or the first day of the week, Sunday, at 10:30 in the morning, we have planned a brainstorming session to discuss how do we respond to the predicament, the challenge, the awesome challenge of this transformation taking place in the world of money. That we anticipate, while others are eating their biryani and going to sleep, and yet others are fighting over peanuts, we anticipate the demonetization of all paper money, meaning that you cannot use paper money as money anymore. If you have the paper money and a certain time expires, then it'll be worthless. You can use it as wallpaper. Yeah. It's called demonetization. I apologize for this long word. So we anticipate, we who are keeping our eyes trained on what is happening in the world, and who are searching in the Quran and in the Sunnah to understand what is happening in the world and to seek to respond to the changes in the world appropriately and in accordance with the truth and in a manner pleasing to Allah, and which will allow us to protect our faith. While others are eating their biryani and going to sleep, we are doing this. So we want to know how to respond. 100 years ago, when the transformation was taking place from real money, that is gold and silver coins, to this monopoly money that we now have, and we have bogus fatwa. Oh, it's so shameful and disgraceful. Bogus fatwa that this paper money is halal. When that transformation was taking place 100 years ago, it appears that the world of Islamic scholarship was asleep. I like that French term, they say, faire dodo. My grandmother's sister died at the age of 104 here in Trinidad. And she grew up as a child at the time when the French expressions were still being used in Trinidad. So she never referred to the city where I now live, San Fernando, by that name, San Fernando. No, she always called it Pitibug. And so she used to use the term dodo, to sleep, dodo. It's still being used here in Trinidad. It's a French term, faire dodo. So at that time, 100 years ago, the world of Islamic scholarship was in the state of faire dodo. They were sleeping. And they did not even understand what was happening in the world of money. And they failed miserably to respond to what was happening in the world of money at that time, when the change was taking place from gold and silver coins to paper money. And then when the change took place from the Bretton Woods monetary system to the petrodollar monetary system in the 1970s, the world of Islamic scholarship was again faire dodo, fall asleep, or they didn't know how to respond. They were not even conscious of what was happening in the world. That is the pathetic reality that we face. But now, no. Now we have many of our people who are conscious, who are aware of what is happening, and who can perceive that we are on the verge of the demonetization of all paper money. Remember what India did 1 year ago? demonetizing the 1,000 rupee note and the 500 rupee note. And this was a cue, this was a sign. The government of India was betraying the Hindu religion. Where are the pundits who will stand up and say that? Why is it an Islamic scholar has to say that your religion is being betrayed by the government in India? When they acted on behalf of Wall Street, yes, that's what they did, to demonetize the 1,000 rupee note and the 500 rupee note. And the European Union is demonetizing the 500 euro note. And around the world, this movement, this transformation away from paper money to electronic or digital, and now it's being called virtual money, is taking place. That we're leaving the real concrete world and we are going into a make-believe world. They call it a virtual world. That's where mankind is moving, yes, away from the concrete world to a virtual world. This transformation is taking place. Maybe I'm wrong, maybe it won't be within 1 year, maybe be 2, maybe 3 years from now, but not too long from now. And it will be complete, no more paper money, and only electronic and digital money. If you're listening to me in Trinidad, we want to discuss this subject on November the 5th at the Jama Masjid in San Fernando at 10:30 in the morning. And you cannot walk in. This is a private session. If you want to attend, you must contact us, so we register you, okay? So we'll know who are those who are coming. And there are some unwelcome guests that we would not want to have. You know who I'm talking about. So if you want to attend that brainstorming session, it's a session in which we'll be sharing views with each other and discussing views with each other, how to respond. I will lead the discussion, but today, not only are we inviting you to come and join us, but you must send an email to you'll get my email address at the bottom of the screen. You can also send an email to IBN. They will put their email address at the bottom of the screen. You can also call at IBN to say we want to attend this session at the Jama Masjid San Fernando. Please do not come and just walk in without registering yourself. You don't have to pay for registration. You're also going to get lunch. You don't have to pay for lunch. All right? But don't just come and walk in. Please do not just come and walk in. We don't want you to do that, because there will be some unwelcome guests. We don't want, you know who I'm talking about. So you must register. But today we will, in anticipation of that session on the 5th of November, incidentally, if you are abroad and you want to come to Trinidad to attend that session, which will last from 10:30 and maybe until a little bit after Salatul Zuhr, we'll have lunch, and then we can also continue the discussion. You can come from abroad as well. We already have some people who are coming from abroad. There was one who wanted to come all the way from Egypt, but unfortunately, he could not make it. Brother, I hope we will be able to come and visit you in Egypt, inshallah, sometime. I was once a student in Egypt for 1 year. So today what we'll do is we'll have the brainstorming session, but here live on IBN. You can call in with your calls, and whenever you call, we will interrupt the program to take your call. The numbers are at the bottom of the screen. You can also call from abroad, but I hardly think there will be many people viewing the program live from abroad, because we did not advertise it properly. I don't have my laptop with me because the screen has gone bad. There's a ribbon that connects the laptop with the screen, and that has to be replaced. So I can't receive your emails live, but you can send an email to IBN if you want with your question, and they will write it out and bring it for me. or you can call on the phone, the bottom of the screen. At the bottom of the screen, you get the numbers there, with your questions or with your comments on the subject. How do we respond to this challenge of electronic and digital money, which is now on its way? I said to you that I have only 1 month left before I travel again, inshallah, and I will be gone for several months. But there's a message for you if you are in Britain, if you are in France, if you're in Belgium, if you're in Switzerland, and that is that in late December, I will be in Britain in November for a few days, but then after that I'll go over to France, inshallah. But in late December, I have to go to Belgrade. We have the launching of my book on methodology for the study of the Quran, which has been translated to the Serbian Bosnian language. And the launching of that book will take place in Belgrade in mid-December. So when I return from Belgrade, then I'll come to Britain, inshallah. And if you are in London and you would like to have me, I'm not having any public lectures, but all you have to do is to organize a group, small group, not more than 25 people, and maybe have a small dinner, some simple meal, and I will come and spend the evening with you and spend a few hours in discussions and answering questions and in introducing Islamic eschatology or the study of the end time. If you would like to organize such a session and you are in London or in Manchester or in Birmingham, these 3 cities, then do please send me an email and I'll put you in touch with my students who are doing the organization. And we'll see whether we can put an evening for you to come and sit with you and spend the evening with you and have a small meal and have a nice long discussion session and answering questions. Remember, this is London, mostly London, but also Manchester and Birmingham and the areas close to these 3 cities. But if you're in France, no matter where in France you are, in Belgium, and you like to organize a session, my French is not that good, but I remember I was in the south of France and we had a session, and the fellow who was supposed to do the translation to English, I was not at all happy with his work, so I took over, and I spoke for 2.5 hours in French. Yes, they must have enjoyed my French. They must have enjoyed my broken French. Anyhow, I tried my best. But if you would like to have a session in France, in any one of the cities of France, in Lyon, for example, in Paris, do please send me an email, and the group should not be more than 25, and we can have some small dinner or so, some couscous or whatever it is, and I will spend the whole evening with you, a few hours, in discussion session. I can hold my whole in a French discussion in French, but if we want to have a serious talk, then I'll need someone to help me with translations to English. That is the news for you if you are in Britain, if you're in France, if you're in Switzerland, in Geneva, in Lausanne, whatever you are, small groups of people. The same thing I want to say for Trinidad. That is that if you are in Trinidad and you would like me to come and have an evening with you, not in the masjid, no, not in the masjid, but in a private home or in a hall or something, and a small group of people, I know most of the young people will be interested in meeting with me, then send me an email, or you can call on the phone to organize a session, and I'll be happy to spend an evening with you, inshallah. All right, here are some questions. Dear Sheikh, I have been told by a Christian that he will never convert to Islam because he read in the hadith that the Prophet said that the mind of a woman is deficient. What's your opinion? The Quran says something, and if the hadith says something else which is in conflict with the Quran, what do? You know that that hadith didn't come from the Prophet ﷺ. It came from those who want to corrupt the religion. The Quran says that Allah created all human beings with perfection. He says that in the Quran, لَقَدْ خَلَقْنَا الْإِنسَانَ فِي أَحْسَنِ التَّقْوِيمِ. The Quran says that there is no defect at all in Allah's creation. That's right. مَا تَرَى فِي خَلْقِ الرَّحْمَنِ مِن تَفَاوُتٍ فَارْجِئِ الْبَصَرَ هَلْ تَرَى مِن فُتُورٍ. Do you find any defect at all? So there is no defect in the creation of a woman. There is no defect in the creation of the mind of a woman. So where did this rubbish come from? If something is in conflict with the Quran, then take it and put it aside and stay with the Quran. The Quran is the absolute authority in Islam, absolute authority. And the Hadith has authority when it is in harmony with the Quran. Yes, you must obey when it is harmony with the Quran. But if a Hadith is in conflict with the Quran, we stay with the Quran. Next question. Sheikh, when do you think the Dajjal will appear in our dimension of time? Good question, MashaAllah. I congratulate you because there are very few people who can even ask this question. They have such little knowledge of the subject of Dajjal. Okay, let us go back to the hadith of Sahih Muslim. The Prophet, Allah's blessings be upon him, that said that when Dajjal is released, he will live on earth for 40 days. One day, yawmun kasana, one day which will be like a year. Yawmun kashahr, one day which will be like a month. Yawmun kajum'a, one day which will be like a week. Wasairu ayyamihi ka'ayyamikum, and all his days, meaning all the rest of his days, like your days. So it is at the end of his mission. After he has completed stage 1 and stage 2 and stage 3, only then will his day be like our day. Only then would he be in our world of space and time. Only then will we see him before us as a human being, as a human being. So we have to ask ourselves, has the first stage been completed? A day like a year? Has the second one been completed? A day like a month? When will the third one be completed? A day like a week? My book entitled Jerusalem in the Quran has answered that question. And the second book of mine, entitled Suratul Kahf in the Modern Age, has a chapter on the Quran and time. I wish I did not have to write that chapter. I really wish I did not have to write it, because that chapter should have been written by my teacher, Maulana Dr. Fadlur Rahman Ansari, rahimahullah, or it should have been written by his most learned student of all, which not me. His most learned student is Maulana Siddiq Ahmed Nasir, or by Maulana Wafi Muhammad, or by Dr. Ibrahim Abul Fadl Mohsin Ibrahim in Durban, South Africa, or by Sheikh Ali Mustafa. I'm the least learned of them all. So I had to write that chapter entitled The Quran and Time, and in that chapter you'll find me giving my views, explaining this hadith. My view, my answer to your question is that it is my opinion that we are now at that moment in time when a day like a month is coming to an end, and Pax Americana is now in irreversible decline, and Pax Judaica is preparing itself to replace Pax Americana. Pax Judaica, of course, would mean Israel replacing the United States of America as a new ruling state in the world. And when that happens, then a day like a week will then commence. Has a day like a week commenced as yet? There are some of my students who have gone ahead of me and have said, yes, it's only going to commence with 9/11. No, I don't think. I don't have that view, no. I believe that Pax Judaica can only commence when there's no more United Nations organization, no. And no more International Monetary Fund. They have to go down into the garbage bin. So that Israel could emerge as a ruling state in the world. Pax Judaica, which says we want to turn away from the godlessness of Pax Britannica and Pax America. We want to turn away from the secular world, and we want to return to the religious way of life. That's what Israel is going to do. And we must enforce God's laws and so on. Yes, all that's what Israel is going to do. And Israel won't be a secular state, it will be a kingdom with a king. Then you know you're in a day like a week. And only when a day like a week has come to an end, only then would Dajjal be in our world of space and time. The Malhama has to take place, the Great War, the nuclear war. And the conquest of Constantinople has to take place before Dajjal will appear in human form. Remember, Constantinople is the name of the city. Remember that if the Prophet alayhi salatu wassalam called a city by a certain name, then it is the sunnah. Are you listening to me? It is the sunnah to use that name for the city, the sunnah. If he referred to a city by a certain name, then it is a sunnah to use that name for the city. You can give the city a nickname, like New York is called Big Apple, no problem with that. But the name of the city must not be changed. You cannot abandon the name Constantinople. No. Because Nabi Muhammad ﷺ used the name Constantinople. Are you listening to me? Because the Prophet used the name Constantinople, you cannot abandon the name Constantinople. You can give a nickname to the city. You want to call it by other names, by all means, but this name cannot be abandoned. So he said, لَتَفْتَحَنَّ الْقُنْسْتَنْتِنِيَّةَ, you will most certainly conquer Constantinople. Today they call it Istanbul, and they prohibit the use of the name Constantinople. That is wrong. And I raise my voice against it. I take my time with this because the Prophet referred to the city as Yathrib. Yes, he did that. If you don't remember, I'm reminding you. He said, Umranu Baytil Maqdis Kharabu Yathrib. Since he referred to the city by the name of Yathrib, of course there is no problem in calling or describing the city as Madinatun Nabi. No problem with that, but you're not changing the name.